Welcome to the Restoration Group podcast, where we are sometimes silly, but we are always serious about investing in Oklahoma City leaders who desire to integrate their work into their Christian faith. I'm your host, Clay Steves, and today I am joined by my co-hostests with the mostists, Aaron Scott and Michael Mead. How annoyed are both of you with my intro and calling you hostesses with the mostesses right now?
It's not that part. It's the fact that you looked at Michael when you said my name, and then you looked at me when you said Michael's name.
Nice.
Wow.
Hopefully people will now go to YouTube to see that in action.
I mean, it's a can't miss.
You, how annoyed are you?
Annoyed is not a word I would choose.
What would
I'm
it be?
thinking of like Little Debbie snacks.
Is that just on your mind, or?
Isn't there like
you.
something to do with
Like Swiss cake rolls?
Oh.
hostess?
Like hostess.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I
that
wasn't
was
tracking,
good. Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
that's good.
That's where my mind went.
Wow, that was a good start.
Maybe you just think about them randomly throughout the day anyway.
It represents my childhood.
We should see if we can get Hostess to sponsor us. That's a great idea.
No, if we're going to get a sponsor,
What's it going to be?
not Hostess.
Okay. All right. Well, and not what today's episode is on, but today's episode is
About a business. Hostess is a business.
It is a business. That a girl.
This is a segue.
Today is the first part of a 3-part series that we are doing on a new product, a new resource that we have brought and utilized internally, and we are also offering as one of our business coaching products, and that is the business operating system created by Donald Miller, known as the Business Made Simple program. And our team has been certified in this. Our own Michael Mead went through the certification process to teach this to other businesses. And so we're going to spend time discussing and learning about that after we've applied it internally, and we've been coaching it externally as well. So I'm going to pass it to you, Mikey, to lead the episode.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that we say about like we're living this out, we're doing it, and the phrase I like to say is like we're gonna smoke what we sell. It's like if we're bringing this and selling it to people, like we better be using it.
We are,
and
yes.
so that's just personally how I like to say
So
that.
this is what we're smoking?
We are the kind of people who smoke what we sell,
There.
for better or worse.
Aaron, please don't reuse that in any marketing material.
Did you write that down?
I'm just going to make sure that's the clip we use on social media for this episode.
Timestamp.
I am loving the start of this
Let's get the
episode.
caption.
Timestamp around 2.5 minutes.
That's exactly right.
Great.
Good stuff.
So Clay, like you mentioned, it in its most simplistic form, it is an operating system for businesses to run their business. Is really what it's designed to be, and that's how we're using it. And one of the reasons that having an operating system that has already been created that you can then implement, one of the reasons that's valuable is because we've seen, and you've shared this a bit in your entrepreneurial journey, Clay, a lot of business owners are really, really good at the competency that helps get the business started. So whether it's creating the product, providing the service, whatever that thing is, every business is a bit different. They're great at that. Then all of a sudden they look up and they've got 4, 5, 10 employees. They've built this business.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, no one told me how to do that part. Like I thought I was doing this. Now I'm doing that. I don't know how to do that. And first of all, if you started a business and you feel that way, like you're probably doing it right. Like that is a very sequential pattern for a business owner to find themselves feeling that way. And I would just encourage anyone, like that's not an indicator that you're doing something wrong, you're off track, anything like that. But if you are feeling it, it might be an indicator that you have a new skill to learn that you can learn. And so this is designed to help you do that. And, you know, Donald Miller has been teaching this for years. And so the other benefit is that at this point, thousands of businesses have applied the same thing and it's worked for them, which means that it will probably work for you across multiple industries, all the different things. It's a proven framework. So what is it? They use the language of like an airplane. It's kind of the analogy, which is pretty cool.
It is
so it's like
good.
we're going to flight school, learning how to be pilots, pilots of a business. So there's 6 parts of the plane that we're really focusing on when we talk about the Business Made Simple framework. So you have the leadership, which is like the cockpit of the plane. So that helps put in the coordinates to determine where are we going, where is this flight designed to get to, right? What's the destination? Then you have 2 engines, the marketing engine and the sales engine. So those are 2 different parts, and those help the plane get thrust. You can't get a business off the ground if you don't sell anything or if nobody knows about your product or service.
Yes.
So you have sales and marketing. Then the like lodge where the passengers sit, the overhead and operations of a business, the fuselage. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's the overhead and operations. So that is really your people management, your meeting structures, how you lead your team, that aspect of your business. You have the wings, which make up the product or service. That's the thing that you sell. And then the fuel tank is cash flow. So
dollar bills.
And the whole idea there is if you run out of fuel, the plane will crash.
You can have all the inches, you can have the fuselage, you can have your coordinates. It doesn't matter.
You can have the nicest plane in the world, but if it doesn't have fuel, it's coming down. And you can have the nicest looking business in the world. If you run out of cash, you're going to run out of business.
That visual is so effective and helpful for me because you had to go on like a 90-second straight talking, describing something there, and and that is a challenging thing to do. I think having the framework of the plane and even the simplicity and the clarity of using something that everybody knows and has a visual on is a really effective way. So I don't know. I enjoyed that. Even as you were just doing it right there, I was enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, and even to take the visualization further, like imagine a plane and the fuselage is just huge, like a beached whale, and it's got little wings and little engines. And what that would mean is that you're really overinflated on your people overhead.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the plane is not built proportionately to carry the overhead that you have.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're flying a little prop plane because you're a solopreneur getting started and that serves you really well, but it's not built to design adding passengers.
Yeah.
And so to do that, you need to get bigger wings, stronger engine. And so you can really take that and just try to imagine what kind of plane are you flying right now? And maybe more importantly, what kind of plane do you want to fly?
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something you haven't mentioned yet, so if I'm stealing from later, I apologize. But
setup.
Just for clarity, that that not every business, maybe some would, but not every business is going to need to work on all 6 areas of the plane at once. Like you said, like maybe some things are serving them really well in the, I don't know, on the wings or whatever, in the sales and marketing, things like that. But maybe they need to work on leadership, or maybe they need to work on their cash flow or something like that. And so for clarity and for my reminder, as we have again been implementing this ourselves, is that it's not about like we have to tackle everything at once and like rebuild a plane from the ground up. It's let's address and like kind of triage like what needs the most work right now, like what is the thing or maybe a few things that are really not optimizing our plane, and how can we work on those specific things to come in alignment with the rest of our plane. And so that's been really helpful as a visual for me of like, okay, we're kind of piecing this out and we can pick and choose what we're working on and when.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it would really fall into the idea of like, if you focus on everything, you're focusing on nothing.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't do that ourselves and would never advise someone like, here, go make these 6 things better by the end of the month. You're probably not going to make any progress. And even for this series, what we're going to be focusing on is the sales and marketing engine. So today's kind of an introduction to the whole operating system and the idea. The next 2 episodes will be really focusing on sales and marketing. But we also have a tool called My Business Report that people can take. We'll put a link in the show notes. And think about that as like a quick way to get a diagnostic on just what's the current health of your business. It will also generate some actionable items to improve any potential weak areas that you might have. But that would be a way for a business owner to maybe determine what are we doing well, what can we improve on, to help focus in what in their business might need attention.
And the visual I appreciate visual things, and the visual on that report is really helpful because it shows the plane and it shows all the areas and it gives like a red or green, this is doing great or this is not doing great. So there's not a lot left to there's not any guesswork. It's like you fill out the things and then it's like your left wing is like on fire. And so you should really address that.
It's just escalated quickly.
Yeah. But it's, you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to wonder okay, well, cause sometimes I think, it's like this, like you described, like I started this business and now it's like things feel off, but I don't know. And maybe you're just taking a shot in the dark at we should do some new marketing. We should do more stuff on social media, or we should hire someone to do this thing. We should add to our team. And I feel like it's really helpful instead to actually assess things objectively from a third party essentially. And to get that feedback, to get that from the outside looking in to say, no, these are the areas, or this is the area that is in need of attention. And maybe the other ones are fine, but you're just misreading, kind of some, diagnostic things. And so it's helpful to see that visual of oh, great, these parts of my plane are they actually are doing okay. So I don't need to like freak out about that right now, but I should be working on, my cash flow or whatever it is. So I like the visual.
Yeah. And you hear the analogy or idea of like you work in your business or on your business, and we by nature will just get pulled into working in our business. So that's fulfilling the product, fulfilling the service, putting out the fires. If you have a team, leading your team. And if you're not careful, you'll do that 60 hours a week for years and look up and ask yourself, how did this happen?
And typically, like you spoke very specifically to owner founders kind of at the beginning, you will do the competency that you did very well, and you will focus on that because of the fact that that feels really good.
Yeah. Even though that may not be what the business needs in this season.
Precisely.
Yeah,
and I think that's and again, we believe in strengths and we believe in, highest and best use in doing those. But when you're falling into doing just that because you are struggling in the other areas or you feel insecure, inadequate, that's when it becomes a trap. And I think tools like this, because it's one thing to have a diagnostic, and we will talk more about that, like to take the MBR to then know my wing is on fire.
MBR being?
The My Business Report, which is the link in the, thank you, high five. We're not just going to do acronyms around here. To do the My Business Report, to get the diagnostic on your plane. It's another to have the operating system to then implement to fix the plane that's on fire, right? Or to fix the wing or the engine. And I think that's, because you can tell me my knee is bum. That's fine. I want to know, what do I need to do to get myself to be healthy again and thriving? Right. And so, sorry, I just shifted metaphors to a knee. It's the old orthopedic element in me.
It's the example you just gave of going back to what you know. And so that's a good full circle.
That's exactly right.
And and I was thinking one of our recent podcast guests, Bailey Wilson, she talked about a similar thing. She talked about how she kind of looked up one day and realized that her business had shifted from originally when she launched it was just her and it was a product business.
Yeah.
But as she began to gain employees and do licensing and
scale
all these,
scale
and everything, that she realized that she had to shift into I'm in the people business. Like her product is still important, but she's in the people business now. And I think that speaks to what you just said of and she even kind of told some stories about sometimes it's easy for her to fall back into or she just has to be mindful and remember that she's in the people business now. And that's not originally how things started, but that's a sign of a great entrepreneur who's able to recognize that okay, things are shifting. And like you said, I can't just go back to the thing that made this successful at first, because that's not where we're at anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and you go back to that because it makes you feel good. And the reason it makes you feel good is because, one, you know how to do it. And two, it puts points on the board.
Yeah.
I don't think we can ignore that fact.
Nope.
It will make you feel like your business is being successful. It will also be a rate limiting factor on your ability to grow or scale in many ways if you don't get out of that hamster wheel, really.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
So Clay, I want to ask you, like I said, we smoke what we sell around here. So we've been doing this. We've been applying this into our business. And when we took the report for our business, candidly, there was a lot of red. And we've been working on it. We have been.
We'll put a picture in the show notes. No, I'm just kidding.
Of ours. Yeah.
So as someone who you own multiple companies, and we have brought it to multiple companies that you own.
Yeah.
What's been your experience of doing that?
Yeah. I think the first thing I enjoyed, and we've talked about it a lot, we game planned ahead of time, let's make sure we talk about the My Business Report. We've done that. Fist bump. We did it around the house. Mission accomplished. But that piece was definitely for me one of the elements I love. I love a diagnostic. I love a snapshot, an assessment, situational awareness for my business that will look at, I like personality assessments. We've talked about these with the Enneagram. I like good data and information. But even more than that, I love that then there's something to go do with that information. There's action to take on it. So the first thing I enjoyed was being able to take the free My Business Report. It is not hard. It is 10 minutes or less. You fill it out and you can get an assessment, right? Okay, so
you like diagnostics. I like free. That's my favorite part. And our
forces combined, we still are dominating on the My Business Report.
I just wanted to point out that for those of you like me that enjoy free things,
there's the combo, right? And I think for me, the piece, I'm not a car guy. Okay. I don't know cars. I'm not Mason Maddox, a good friend of ours who is a car man knows. I think a car literally has a flux capacitor. And so if it doesn't have a flux capacitor, I'm still concerned.
I don't even know what that is.
I just know that you have to be careful with the left phalange.
That's from Friends. The flux capacitor is Back to the Future? No, Nothing?
I just said Back to the Future. It's on the record.
My gosh.
You can listen back.
Okay. So I love the ability to, if I know something's off, to have an expert be able to come in, plug into my car and tell me, hey, this space needs this to be done to it. And they then have a solution to help come fix my challenge. That's how I experienced the MBR. My business report was when we did it for our business, it looked at it, and I'm naturally a salesman. I naturally do that element to it. So those pieces often have good juice and strengths in the businesses I've started. Some of the other areas, like the ops, the systems, those pieces aren't always my strength. And so often those were a weakness place or opportunity for improvement. That's the way we like to say it, right? The wing's on fire. It's an opportunity for improvement. So I think that was the piece that I love. The free, quick, 10-minute gives me a report that then I can take action on. Yeah. Right. So that was one element I loved. The other was the balancing of it is a comprehensive tool. So it covers all elements of our business. But as Aaron talked about, I love the fact that we could look at the season we're in and say, we're going to focus on this because this could have the biggest impact for us. So like we're going to spend time on the marketing clarity because we want to make sure we have that messaging right. So we didn't have to go tackle the whole project at once. We could a la carte choose the pieces and systematically work through them one at a time, make improvement, get healthy on that part of the plane, and then go work on something else. So that nature to where it's not like, come implement everything. It was, okay, we can, this one, we are really weak here. If we could get this fixed, it would make a big difference. I love that balancing piece for me. So it was a comprehensive tool, but then we could choose the part that we would focus on.
Yeah. Well, and a diagnostic would be really frustrating if all it did was tell you what's wrong. Yeah. And then said, good luck, send you on your way. Like you go get your car checked. It's like, yep, this is why your check engine light's on. Hope you have a good day. Yeah. It's like, well, that's not helpful. Yep. So the balance and bringing both, I think, is what makes it useful. Aaron, you and I have in common more of a nonprofit background before coming here. So business is more new to us than it is to Clay, who has been an entrepreneur for 10 years. What has been your experience of bringing this tool in, considering you don't really have a business background? Same to me. What has that been like for you?
Well, I have to give the Business Made Simple people some props because I feel like they could have named it like Business School for Dummies. It was just nice of them to not do that. but it's like, it's okay. I read between the lines. I get what you're doing here. Yeah. But I appreciate that because that if it were named Business School for Dummies, I would be like, yeah, I need that book. Because you're right. I don't have as much experience, especially like founding a business. And so it's like I've always operated in organizations where if we're talking about the parts of the plane, like someone else is in charge of other, these other parts of the plane, as opposed to it's like, oh, when we look at this and like parts of the plane are in red, it's like, I have some responsibility to do something about that now. And it's like, okay, well, so all that to say, I really appreciate, and I'm really not joking when I say this, but I made a note that like, I like the visuals. So the visual that like the plane thing we already talked about, but also there are other visuals that they give, along, and we'll kind of talk about some of those as we go through these episodes and talk about different parts of the plane and different strategies and things like that. But they give a lot of really practical, like you said, also like here's what you can do about that, if you're facing this issue. Also there are, there's like a whole video library. I don't know. I didn't like ask beforehand if I should talk about that, but here I am. So there's like a whole video library of all sorts of things, not just, it's like within each part of the plane, there are like subcategories of subjects and things like that. And they all come with like video, almost like tutorials, I would say. Yeah. So it's essentially like if this whole, if Business Made Simple had a YouTube channel, this would be it. And so I know Michael and I both have learned a lot via YouTube in our different roles here at Restoration Group and like figuring out how to do stuff. And this is essentially the same way. It's like, okay, we're going to make a proposal document for a potential client. This is like an actual real example a few weeks ago. And it was like, okay, well, cool. Here's a video segment, like almost like an online course really quick that was broken up into, I can't remember, 5 or 6 pieces. And I literally like printed out the thing, watched each video in order, and it would have me work on things, you know, that I had printed out during each video segment. And then, you know, I've got the video on one tab and then like my actual document that I'm working on another tab on my laptop. And by the time I was done, it was like, dun, da, da, da. Yeah. I have a proposal document that, to be very honest, like is way better and more professional and more cohesive than something I would have come up. Like I would have gone like to Google and typed like proposal document, because it's like, I've never done this before. And then would have just tried to copy like visually what I saw. But instead I got to understand the concepts of like, here's why each of these parts of the proposal is important. Here's help with verbiage. Here's some examples of what not to do. That's often sometimes really helpful for me, because it's like, oh shoot, I would have done that. And so it was just the practical, like, I don't mean this in a negative way, but almost like hand holding that they provide, that this system provides through so many different areas of business. And again, I don't mean that to be overwhelming, because it's like you said, we don't have to go do all of it, but we were able to a la carte pick like, oh, we need a proposal to give, because we have a potential client and we want to propose our services to them. So we got to just pick that one out. There are like a dozen other videos that I haven't even opened because they're not relevant right now. Right. And so we don't need to, but at the point that they are relevant, they're available. Yep. So I've appreciated the hand holding in a really positive way.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that one was it was systematized. And so that then once you made that one time, like it was so thought out, it was so professional, they held like your template, hand, and now it's a template to where we've reused that with very minimal effort, right? On multiple other proposals. And so all of a sudden now we as a business are equipped to go do what we do in that space. And
I really don't have to go back every time and watch the videos. And so that's a good point of like, this was like a one-time time investment that I spent 30, 40 minutes, like, and I mean, maybe a little bit longer, because I sent it to Michael. We kind of like brainstormed some changes, but I'm going to say all in all, an hour and a half or less. But now future proposals, it's like 5 minutes. Like we're just changing the unique details for that unique customer, and that's it. But it's like now even I have the knowledge on how to best do that because I learned along the way. And so it makes a lot more sense than just like every single time we're going back and recreating the wheel.
Yeah. And one of the things Donald Miller talks about that is what I'm hearing from you is it is just helping us professionalize our operation.
That's it.
So I think a lot of people are running around creating a proposal from scratch every time they have a new client to send one to. And I'm not here to condemn that. That's what we were doing. But now we are doing something different where you spent that hour working on the business to create this thing that now has a return for as long as I can see. I mean, the return on that is just going to be great. And that, I don't know. Clay, help me out. I lost my thought.
Well, I think I'm going to stay in Aaron's in the proposal vein, because a lot of the content that came out of that, even the different steps on their hand holding, we had answered in a previous like working session where Michael, you as the certified coach, were actually like walking Aaron and I through answering questions on the marketing engine, right? Like we were answering a lot of questions. And again, once again, it was systematized. Like, hey, you all need to answer these questions in this step. And then it moved to the next one about, well, what are the challenges of our customer? And then it would be like, well, if you could, and all of a sudden it was one by one. Once we did all of that work, again, in one session with a guide, with a system professionalized, we had answers that we could then go plug and play into the template, right? The proposal. And then, so all of a sudden our operation is, there's not a better term, like professionalizing it. And so all of a sudden we're becoming more efficient and proficient at what we do. And so that was the beauty for me as you, and I have to give you credit. I'll do that here on record in public. Like you were the one pounding the drum on this, like, hey Clay, this product and this system, I really do believe in it. And so drove us as an organization. And I couldn't be more pleased that we are internally utilizing it at Restoration Group, another business I own at Habakkuk, right? But also we're now certified. You're certified to be able to be sharing this in the Oklahoma City community with other small business leaders. And so that's which I think, are we the only certified coaches in Oklahoma City?
Yes.
Is that a fact? Like, I can state that fact
I think in the state of Oklahoma. But
okay, so in the state of Oklahoma, right? And so for us, this is something we really do believe in. Again, we're smoking. What is it? We're smoking our what?
Smoke what we sell, baby.
We're smoking what we sell.
Next time, make him work it out.
I appreciate that. Real good. Yeah, make him fumble through it. Yeah, we smoke what we sell, but we really, have an opportunity to bring that to the market, and I'm excited to see how businesses, because that's what the heart of the people we get to work with who desire to integrate their work into the Christian faith is incredible. As a founder, it can be so discouraging. It can be so deflating when you're trying to, for lack of a better term, grow up your business as an owner, as a leader. And so just to have somebody come alongside you that has a playbook for you to be like, oh, yes, please, thank you, and to walk through that with you. Yeah. I can even say when you've helped me with that, it's been a wonderful gift. Yeah.
Well, and speaking to that, like feeling of inadequacy, I think sometimes the owner feels like there's some silver bullet out there that everyone else knows about that they need to learn about. And I don't buy into that. Going back, Aaron, to what you're talking about with like the business school for dummies, like I think that's a funny way to think about it. But this is true, like to go spiritual, like in our faith walk. This is true in our business and in so many areas of our lives. Like we don't really need a new thing. We need a reminder of the fundamental simple things. And so business made simple, like it's not rocket scientists. It's not this like novel idea that no one in business has ever thought of before. Yeah. It is just a very curated, thoughtful, packaged product of the basics. It cuts all the glitter out, and it just like, this is the basic, simple thing that will help your business grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need most of the time. And what we want is like the sexy, flashy, complicated. And part of that is because I have an excuse to not succeed if that's true.
Oh, that's so good.
And that's what we need to confront.
But the clear is kind. Like we believe in that. Yeah. And I like sometimes the clear thing is just like, what's the next small step? Yeah. You use the phrase hand holding. That really is it. What's the next step I need to take as a business to professionalize? Because we believe in our mission, right? Like we believe in restoration, what we're trying to do. And every small business leader out there, you believe in your product or your service. And like it matters, and getting it to market matters, which is why, man, if I could just get, what's that next step to help my business do that in a more healthy, efficient, effective way? Yeah. And that's why we believe in this product.
Yeah. And the next step for anyone listening is to take the My Business Report.
How much was it again? Like what's the cost of it?
Free $99.
Somebody's gonna get confused and think there's an amount on it. It's free.
We've got a link in the show notes, and I really hope if you're listening, you'll take the 10 minutes to fill it out. I think that would be a good next step for you on your journey. As we land the plane.
I see what you did there.
Wow.
Anybody?
We're going to keep our plane. As we take the plane up higher.
Do that all day. As we land the plane, any final thoughts from you two before we close for the day?
I do not have any other than reiterating again that it's free to take the assessment. So there's not like you're investing 10, maybe 12 if you're like a slow clicker, like 12 minutes, to at least just know. And if you get the report and you're like, I don't want to do anything with this, or like, I disagree. Cool. Okay, great. But it would at least give you, it will give you insight and information that you may not have right now. And so there's really like, I don't feel like there's anything to lose, in at least just taking that and seeing what might come of that.
Yeah. My final thought is I'm excited for the next 2 episodes in this series, because we're going to dive deeper into the sales engine and the marketing engine, right? Those are, I flipped the sequencing of those, but we're going to dive into those 2, and really excited to share what we've been learning as we've gone through those processes. Yeah.
So next week we'll get into the marketing engine, and then week following we'll do sales. So those are the next 2 coming up. We have a link in the show notes for the My Business Report.
I think we have said that 48 times in this episode. I'm very proud of us.
That's who's sponsoring this episode. Well, it's not, but
anyway. And then we always end with a verse, and I've actually selected a verse for the whole series for the 3 episodes we're doing. I think it just really applies as we think about trying to optimize, professionalize our business. Is we can do all of this, but if we're not doing it for a different reason, it's going to end, right? It's going to be empty. So the verse for the series, Proverbs 16:3, commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established.
Until next week, choose life. Thank you for tuning in. To find out more about how Restoration Group can serve you or your business, click the link in the show notes below or go to restorationgroup.co.